Hey folks, I'm here for AE Tuts, and today we're gonna create something sweet I like to call little fuzzballs. Let's first take a nice preview of what we're gonna be creating today. Okay, so that is without a doubt the cutest thing I have ever created inside After Effects. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in. Let's create a new composition, and we'll call it body. We'll make it 200 by 200 pixels. By the way, I'm working in 25 frames per second. We'll put it in pre-comps, and in here, we'll create a new solid, Control Y. Color doesn't really matter, and we'll add a round mask to it. Let's switch to round. Okay, and just click on it twice to get a perfect circle. Okay, that's it for now. Let's close this up and let's drag it in our main comp. By the way, our main comp is 1280 by 720, 25 frames per second. So this will be the body for our fuzzball. To make it a bit more fuzzy than it is right now, let's add to it CC hair. And we get this weird looking thing. So let's collapse the transformation and we'll get something even weirder. But let's see if we can turn it to something a bit nicer. First, let's set the length of the hair to 50, so we get longer hairs here. And we'll set the thickness to 1. We'll set the density of the hair to 600, so we'll get a lot more hair here. Let's toggle down the hair fall map. We'll set the map strength higher than 60. We'll set it about, I don't know, 850 or so. And the map softness, we want it way out there as well. So we'll get the hairs pulling out. Let's say 500 or so. And we'll add a lot more noise. So let's say 20 or so. So as you can see now, we're getting that fuzzball look. So that's it for hair fall map. Let's open the hair color. Naturally, we'll make it purple. Okay, so we'll set the color inheritance to 40%, and we'll lower the opacity to about 35 or so. Right now, the light is in 70 degrees. We'll set it to somewhere around here because we want to simulate light coming from up above from here, and the shadow is pulling down here. And now for shading, we'll set the diffuse a bit higher than it is right now. This should be fine. Let's set the specularity a bit higher as well. Okay, something like this should be fine. One more thing, we need to mark the constant mass, which will make our fuzzball a bit perkier, I think, or something like that. Anyway, it looks nice, right? And the hairs, well, you can see it's not perfect hair, it's not 3D hair. It's more of a synthetic hair. And here's the story behind this thing. My son has this toy, which is basically just a ball with a lot of fur and 2 sad eyes. And when it hits the ground, it makes a me sound or something like that. Looking at it, I thought, yeah, I can do this. And basically, because the CC hairs looks synthetic, it looks very similar to my son's toy. So anyway, this is the basic ball. And if we'll play around with the weight, we get the hairs pulled down or up. And this is how we're going to simulate the gravity. So this is the basic hair. Let's add the eyes. Now let's create a new solid. Control Y. Let's take our mask tool and create an ellipse. Something of this sort should be fine. Okay, now let's duplicate that mask. Control D. By double clicking on one of the points of the mask, you can select all the mask and then move it freely. Now it looks like a blind ball. We'll call this eyes, and to the eyes we want to add pupils. To do that, we'll use the circle effect. There it is. Just add it to the eyes and set it to normal. We'll set it to black. And how about that? It's a cyclopic, weird looking fuzzball. Not exactly where I was going with this. Let's set the radius to be approximately 50. And set it in the middle of the eyes. Could be a bit wider. So that's our basic circle. We'll just move it a bit to the side here. Okay, and we'll call it left circle. Now let's duplicate this one and rename it to right circle. And we'll move it to the right. It looks a bit flat, so let's see if we can change that. Mark the eyes layer, right click on it and select layer styles and drop shadow. We'll set the distance to 0 and we'll set the spread and size both to 15, which will give us this floating ambient occlusion look. Once again, right click on the eyes layer, go to layer styles, inner shadow. Again, no distance, and we'll set the size to 23 or 25, so we'll get this inner shadow looking thing. These eyes are a bit too elliptic, so let's mark both those masks, double click on one of the points and make them a bit smaller. And we need a bit more on the inside, so we'll add some choke to it. And that's our basic fuzzball. It's all ready to go. I checked actually the eyes are too small. Let's make them a bit bigger. That's your basic ball, and it's amazing how much expression it's got. If we'll just set the weight higher than 1, now it looks really sad, and if we'll set it to 0, it will look scared. It has a lot of emotionary expression on it. Anyway, this part here, right, doesn't look too good. It looks a bit flat. We'll set the light height a bit lower. You can get some more interesting result there. Yeah, this looks better. A lot better, actually. And we can use a bit lighter purple. This has much more life in it. Okay, so this is our basic fuzzball. Next, what we want to do is animate the fuzzball. And we're not going to just animate it. We're actually going to use just 2 keyframes. And the rest is expressions. For the expressions, I'm going to use eye expressions by MemoWorld, which is a beautiful, beautiful script, which I think is gonna make all of us forget our expression skills. Actually, before we get to animating, there's one more thing I forgot. The eyes, at the stop point, we would expect the hairs to cover them a bit. Let's duplicate the eyes layer, and we'll get rid of the circle effects, and we'll get rid of the layer styles. We'll duplicate these masks and bring it down. Let's change their color even so we can tell them apart. You know what, let's lock these masks so we won't select them by accident. And let's these points up as well as these two. Let's actually right click on this layer and go to mask and hide lock masks. So okay, so we can see it a bit better right now. If we'll select the pen tool by selecting G, hit Alt and click on one of these at these side points, we can convert it to linear, not Bezier points, which is exactly what we're going to do. And we'll just make sure they are aligned with the eyes. So now we got sort of eyelids, which could be nice, but it's not where I'm going. Where I am going is I want to select the body and copy the CC hair effect and paste it to the eyes. Yeah, I would need to get rid of these two. Let's isolate this one. Okay, so it's a lot more hair than I wanted. Let's see if we can get rid of some of that hair by lowering the mask expansion. Let's say -5 on both masks. Okay. So now we got these sort of eyebrows, and the length can be a bit lower, say 20 even. We can bring back some of that mask, so -2 maybe. Yeah, okay. So now we got some of the hairs covering the eyes, and that looks a bit more natural as far as these synthetic dolls go. So we'll call it eyes hair, And now we can get into animating. So let's set up the ground for the animation. What we're going to do is have the fuzzball form from up above, hit the ground, bounce a bit, and come to a hold. But I am gonna use just one fuzzball and then duplicate it over and over again. And since I'm gonna duplicate it and scale it down, I don't want the animation to start from this point or this point, as it's getting smaller and smaller. So mark all of the layers, Control A to pre-compose, Control Shift C, and we'll call it fuzzball base. Okay, let's go into our fuzzball base. In our fuzzball base, we'll set the height of the composition to be ×4 than it is right now. Okay, so the fuzzball is looking a bit more scared at the moment. Yeah, we can lower the scale of the eyes a bit to 90. Okay. Now let's first parent the eyes here and the eyes to the body. The CC hair effect can get a bit heavy on your system, so let's first, we don't need to see the hairs, the eyes hairs, we know it's there. And we can also lower the resolution for the moment to half. So let's check out where the fuzzball is going to land. Let's see. So let's say, let's make it round number 2500 will be the landing spot that is on the y-axis. Mark to yourself, 2500 is our floor line. Let's move the fuzzball position to the top of the screen. We'll set it to 0, set a keyframe for it. 10 frames later, we'll bring it approximately to the center of the screen, somewhere of this sort. And let's bring up our eye expressions window, place it here. For the body bounce, let's open up the library and we'll go to physics simulation, real time, and we'll use throw 2D. And we don't need walls because we don't have walls, and it's not a 3D layer, so we'll just use throw 2D. We'll set the ground height, as we can recall, it's 2500. Okay. Elastic bounce, we'll leave it as is for now. Let's open up the physics. We'll leave it all as it is at the moment. Make sure that the simulation start is at the last keyframe. And now let's just mark the position and hit apply. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so this is nice, this is okay. I'm happy with the result. You can play a bit with the gravity if you would like, and as well as the elastic bounce. Frankly, I'm happy with this as it is right now. Now, we are going to use eye expressions to make the hair weight respond to how fast the body is going, as well as the direction of the hair pull. Let's attach the hair to the body animation. And to do that, we are going to use Simple Link 1D. So let's go to our library, linking, Simple Link 1D. Okay, because we are going to affect just the weight and nothing more. Okay, so let's hit Shift E so we can still see our position and the weight. First, we'll mark the position of the body and we'll hit this little button which would link the expression to the position. Toggle it down. We are going to link it to not the X or Y or Z value, we are going to link it to the Y speed, and instead of scaling it up from 100%, we're going to use -0.1. Okay, and now we'll hit the weight and hit apply. If we'll run the animation again, you can see as the ball falls down, the hair pulls up as it hits the ground, changing its direction. As it gets to the midair, it's surprised and pulls down again and comes to a hold. Now when it does come to a hold, it's a bit too surprised to my taste, so we'll set the offset by 1 and that will bring it to its original position. We can have a bit more bounce. Actually, let's mark the position and load its eye expression, and we'll set the bounce to be a bit higher, maybe 60. Hit apply so we can have a bit more bounciness. That's a bit too much. let's say 55. Hit apply again. Okay, so next, when a body hits the ground at this speed, especially when we're talking about something a bit more on the cartoony side, the body would get squashed as it hits the ground. And to do that, we are also going to use our expressions. So let's hit U so we can see only the expressions, and hit Shift S to reveal our scale as well. We are going to link the scale to the weight value of the hair. So, and to do that, we are going to use linear link 2D. We'll load it from our library. We're looking for linking linear link 2D. Okay? Because we are going to link it to two values, the X and Y of the scale. So first, we need to link it to something. So we'll mark the weight and hit this little button, which will link it to the CC hair's weight. And for our slider minimum, we'll set it to 0.4. The maximum, we'll set it to 2. Now these are numbers I got by experimenting over and over again. You might need different numbers, as you might change the hair length, or you might even not use hair. You might use something else. But these are the numbers I got. Now for the value for minimum, for the X we'll leave it as is, 100, and for the Y we'll make it 120, and maximum we'll switch it, 120 and 100. As far as the option goes, we are linking the X and Y, and we are clipping the borders, so we'll keep those as they are. Mark the scale and hit apply. And we get that squishing result we were looking for. Let's cover what we've got here so far. We got the body animation, we got the hair responding to the body animation, and we've got the scale responding to the body animation as well. It's actually responding to the weight, but you know, it looks like it's responding to the body animation. Next, since it's more of a cartoony look that we're after, we want the pupils to respond to the body animation as well. And to do that, guess what? We are going to use eye expressions again. And we're actually going to use a linear link 2D, so we don't have to reload it. Just hit this little reset button. We are going to link the circle effects center to the weight. We'll mark the weight in the CC hair, and we'll hit the little link to slider button. If we'll toggle it down, we can choose to offset it, to time offset it. So if we would like to have it react a bit later or a bit forward, a bit before the jump. Personally, I think it's fine as it is right now, so I'm not going to do anything with it. Once again, for the slider minimum, I'm going to use the same values, 0.4 and 2 for the slider maximum. Now, for the value for minimum and maximum, I would have to check it out. These are the values at the moment at the center. The X value will remain the same the whole time. We're just going to animate the Y values. So we can already place it to 577 for both the max and minimum. Now, let's see. For the minimum, it should go up about to this point. So let's say 331. And the max value is 418. And we're not gonna do any changes here. Let's mark the center, which we can't do at the moment. So let's hit E on the layer to reveal its effects, and mark the center. Hit apply. We've got the pupil responding to the body animation. Nice is that. And now we need to do the same for the left pupil. Only at this pupil, we set the X value to 699. We will mark the center of the right circle effect. Hit apply, and both the pupils move according to the animation. Next, when the fastball would hit the ground, it should get squashed. I mean, when it hits the ground, the hairs can't pull down, right? So to squash the hair, we are going to use another effect, liquefy, and we'll apply it. Okay, and now just let's start pulling up. we are of course going to link the amount of squash, which is controlled by the distortion percentage. And here's how we're going to link it. We are going to use linear link 1D. So go to linking and linear link 1D, OK. And we are going to attach it once again to the weight. We'll link it to the weight. And if we'll target it down, we're not going to do any changes here. Once again, of course, you can offset it or time offset it as you wish. Again, same values, 0.4 and 2. Once again, I remind you that I got these values by experimenting, and you might get different numbers. Now, for the value for minimum, which is no squishing at all, we'll set it to 0, which means 0 squishing. And value for maximum. Now here's the interesting thing. Using the liquefy tool, I can't get any more than 200%. But using the eye expressions, I can get higher than that. I actually have no limit, which is a bit weird, but that's how it works. So I'll set it to 300. Let's mark the distortion percentage and hit apply. Okay, as it hits the ground, I get this ugly looking squash. So 300 might be too much. Let's set it to 100 and see how that looks. Okay. I would like to get some squish in here, so let's set it to 200. Hit apply once more. Okay, so this isn't what I was looking for. Let's say 300 again. So if this isn't what you're looking for, let's add some more squishing with the brush. And again, this is more of an experimenting till you get the result you were looking for. Okay, so this is nice. Let's see how that looks. As it hits the ground, it gets squashed. Okay, very nice. Oh yeah, one more thing we forgot to do. We've got the hairs on top of the eyes, which at the moment has no animation, and we would like to have the same animation. I can use a simple link 1D, so let's do that. Linking simple link 1D, mark weight, and hit the little link button, mark the weight in the eyes hair, and apply. And the eyes hair does the same as the body hair. And of course, I could have just, let's erase this expression for a moment. You know, when you have a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. So if I'll just alt click on the stopwatch next to the weight and pick whip it to the weight of the body, I get the same result. Yeah, so much for the hammer and nail. Okay, so this is the entire animation for the fuzzball. And as I said before, the CC hair effect can get heavy. And since I do want to duplicate it like 50 times or so, 50 is exaggerating, 30 maybe. Anyway, it can get heavy on the machine. So what I am going to do is I'm going to pre-render it as a PNG sequence and then re-import it back to After Effects. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you right after that. So now we have rendered the fuzzball to a PNG sequence with an alpha channel, of course. We imported it to After Effects. Let's drag it into our main comp. Let's first pre-compose it. Control-Shift-C. We'll call it fuzzball purple. Let's make this composition to be a lot longer than it is right now. Let's give it a minute. Standing at the edge of the layer, we'll right click on it, go to time, enable time remapping. We'll go one frame. Before that, we'll set a keyframe and we'll erase the last keyframe, then extend the layer to the whole composition. So now we got the ball jumping, falling down, bouncing and come to a hold, and then remains true for a long time. Let's duplicate this layer, Control D, and we'll call it red. Okay. And to the ball, we'll add a change to color effect. Okay. And we need to sample the purple. We'll set the from to this kind of purple, and we want a red color. And this gives us a slightly washed color, slightly would be an understatement, but anyway, we'll set the change from hue to hue and saturation, which will give us a very saturated color. So we'll lower the amount of saturation. Let's say softness should be 75, or we set the, let's say 7. Okay, so this is a nice look for our red ball. Let's duplicate the red ball and call this one green. And for the green one, we'll change the to color to green. Yeah, this is a very nice green. Anyway, continue on to do this. We'll need approximately 5 or 6 different balls. Okay, so we've got 5 different colored fuzzballs. We can start compositing them. I've got here the purple fuzzball. I guess the ground level should be a bit lower, somewhere around here. I'll set the anchor point to its bottom, and it's a bit too big, so I can scale it down a bit. Now, I would like to duplicate this one, place it beneath the other one. I'll change the color to blue, and I'll move it here, and scale it down, so I'm remaining on the same ground level. Duplicate this one, we'll change this one to the green one, scale it down a bit, and we'll need to continue on to do so until we get lots of fuzzballs approximately from this point to this point. So for my original preview, I've used a lot more balls than I have at this point, but for this touch's sake, we're gonna use just a small amount of balls. For the background, we'll use a still image of a sky. We can give it a small animation. Let's say our animation would last no more than 8 seconds. We can give a small animation to the sky. Let's say at this point it would be here. Just a couple of keyframes. For the background, I've used a pre-rendered 3D camera movement inside a grassy field, which is something I've used in a previous tutorial of mine. Whimsical grassy field butterfly scene. Move to the left and I'll right click on it. Go to time, enable time remapping because I don't want any animation here. As you can see, the fuzzballs are slightly disappearing inside the grass, and if we'll go into one of those fuzzballs, you can see that I could have and should have added a bit more hairs. I can go back and do that, and another way to get around that is to add curves and go to its alpha channel and just increase or decrease the alpha, and that will bring in back some of our hair. Of course, we would need to apply it to all the fuzzballs. Take the grass down a bit, and we'll add some more grass in the front by duplicating this layer. Take it down a bit more. Now to the fuzzballs in the back, I'll add some fast blur to make it seem as if they are out of focus. 3 should be fine, or even just 2. So now we need to drag the different layers to different points in time so we can have some variation to the fuzzballs. To each of those balls, I'm going to add real smart motion blur, which adds a lot more to the realism of the scene. Not that the scene is realistic by any measure, but it would add to it. Now, at the preview, we had the logo fall on the back and making all the fuzzballs jump. So let's say that from this point, a logo would fall down, and to make it jump, we'll add to it enable time remapping. Let's isolate this one for a moment. Let's get rid of the real small motion blur. We like to take the animation from this point up to this point here. So let's unisolate it, and let's get rid of the real small motion blur for a second here to get a faster workflow. Okay, let's say that at this point a logo would fall down and make all the fuzzballs jump. So we'll copy these keyframes and paste it here. But this fall will be a lot faster, so we'll make it just 1 second. Drag the last keyframe here. From this point to this point, we don't want any animation. So we'll go 1 frame back from this point and copy this keyframe and paste it. So here we get no animation whatsoever. And jump. Now, let's take this time remap, go to the start of the next fuzzball and paste it. And the next one, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now I've got the same time remap attached to all our fuzzballs. I'll make sure they're all aligned to the same point by just dragging these keyframes here. Fuzzballs in the front should have a bit of a delay, maybe 2 frames delay. That will make it a bit more interesting. Okay, one last thing, let's add some color grading. Ctrl-Alt-Y to add an adjustment layer, we'll call it CC, and we'll add a curves effect to it. And let's see, let's raise the green a bit, lower the blue, just a tag. We'll add some more red in this scene. So all you need right now is to add your soundtrack, sound effects, and you're all set and done. Let's have a preview of how it looks. So that's about it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I would like to take this opportunity and thank Matthias from MemoWorld for helping me with his wonderful script. Well, that's just about it, folks. I've been yapping at you for about 7 minutes or so, and I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, my name is Ramen Avraham, and I'll see you next time.